For months now, Sky News has been investigating the bombing of the Minab primary school in Iran, combining on-the-ground reporting with forensic digital investigation. The official US investigation has still not been made public. So we worked with research agency Forensic Architecture, rebuilding the school virtually, to work out how it was hit and why it was so deadly. The Sky News data and forensics team has combed through fragments of information, names, videos scattered across the internet, and satellite imagery to work out how the lives of 120 pupils could be so tragically lost. In this video, you'll meet the journalists and researchers who've worked to shed light on it. This is Iran school bombing, inside the Sky News investigation. Ben, Anna, we've worked on investigations before, and a lot of the time it's in places that you can't get to on the ground, especially in this case. This is the very first day of the war, so access to Iran, especially remote Minab, that was impossible.
It was particularly difficult in this case because by that point Iran had been under a near total internet blackout for more than 50 days.
And this was the first day of the war, 28th of February. Targeting this attack happened. What was the first signs we got of that?
I remember the very first indication there was that a school had been targeted was just one video, and it was released around 2:50 p.m. Iranian time, and it just showed half of a school that appeared to have collapsed, and there was smoke billowing from it.
The US here was quick to deny responsibility.
Yeah, about a week later, Donald Trump said that he believed that Iran was responsible for hitting that school, and that was quite a definitive statement. And then the very next day, we got the first video that indicated US responsibility. And this was a video that was released by state-affiliated media, Mer News, and it just showed a missile entering the frame. Speaking to weapons analysts, they identified this missile as a Tomahawk missile, and only the US in that war was using Tomahawk missiles.
On that, a lot of people hear state-affiliated media. That is the Iranian regime. It's footage by them. People saying, well, why would you trust that?
The first thing we usually do is check that it's not AI, and there are quite a few indicators we can use to look at that. But beyond that, we can see if something is accurate or not by geolocating it. We can pull up satellite imagery and see if we can match key features in that video, like roads, the shape of a road, trees, and other geographical markers against what we see on satellite imagery to ensure that this is a real place.
Let's talk about the victims, because that footage came out and then we started hearing that more than 100 people, mainly children, had been killed. We were told it was mainly girls as well. It's a huge, huge number. How do you start looking at who died?
In this case, because of the internet blackout, there was basically nothing coming out from the families. There were a few sort of scattered obituaries that had made it through the internet blackout, but by and large, there was just nothing to go on. So what we ended up doing was basically combing through footage that had been released by state-affiliated media of the funeral, of body bags, of coffins, and of the graveyard where the victims were being buried, and pulling out names, photographs, anything we could from there to try and get sort of independent verification.
Yeah, and you're doing that one by one for more than 100 people, basically creating this database, and it's all cross-linked, it's all cross-referenced, and so as a result of that painstaking work, you come up with this full list of the dead.
Yeah, and actually I think one of our biggest breakthroughs was getting a list from the Ministry of Health, and we were able to get that through Middle East commentator Tara Kangalu, and we got this list and we were able to use it to corroborate our findings and the people that we had independently verified had been killed. And comparing against that list, we were able to verify 120 students and 26 teachers that had been killed.
As well as a number of parents that had come to pick up their children.
Through searching some of these names, in particular the teachers' names, we stumbled across the first web pages on the school's website that had their names listed. And due to the internet blackout, we couldn't actually directly access the website, but there were lots of archived pages of the website. And so by accessing the archived pages and seeing these lists of teachers, we realized that there was a whole load of information stored on the school's website, which Ben was able to access.
One of the important things that we saw in the footage is this is clearly not just a girls' school. That was the main thing that had been reported at the time. This was an attack on a girls' school. In fact, it was a girls' school on the first floor, but on the ground floor it was a boys' school, and there was also a preschool in the back. And one of the things that we found when going through the victims and identifying all the victims was, in fact, the majority of the children that were killed were boys.
Yeah. And this website, getting these archive pages from the website, I think felt like a big breakthrough for us, because obviously up until that point you just have aftermath.
So for instance, for like a particular child, we might have their name and photograph on a poster being held by the family at their funeral, their name on a coffin, their photograph on a gravestone, and then we would see that same child in this footage in the school, which we've mapped the whole interior of, we've identified where it is. So you've got basically a full picture showing, without a doubt, 100% that these are real victims, it's a real school.
We talked about the why so many boys died in this, which is a key finding. And key to understanding that was the layout of the school. And the videos are really important for that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the videos were the first opportunity we got to really get an idea of what was inside the school. And mapping the school using these videos was important because, one, we wanted to be sure that there weren't any hidden rooms, and kind of, I guess, respond to allegations about this potentially being a military base or having some other use other than just being a school. And so reconstructing the school allowed us to do that.
So I can show you sort of how we did it.
Yeah.
You can see there, basically, we've taken lots of screenshots from all these videos and these photos and so on, and we've just mapped them sort of systematically onto these rooms as we build it out.
And that, I mean, it's incredibly detailed, but the data and forensics team wanted to go further.
For more accuracy, we wanted to speak to people and work with people that could build a better, more thorough model, and that's what we did with forensic architecture.
Half the school was completely destroyed by the missile strike. This is the most accurate picture of what it was like before. A 3D model built by research agency Forensic Architecture, using footage we found to reconstruct the school. After working together for a long time, this is the model, this is the school in 3D. Can you take us through it?
Through the model, we kind of mapped out these separate floors, so we can kind of go through the model and remove elements such as the roof, and we can see the internal layout of the girls' floor, which is accessed through this stair at the back here, from a separate stair, which comes from their external layer from that entrance. And the same with the ground floor. So we've kind of demarked this area here at the front, which is entered through the primary entrance into this communal area, and these rooms wrapped around here as the boys' school.
This was key for understanding the layout, but it'll also be really important later for demonstrating where the missile hit. Especially this room, the main entrance, often used for assemblies for the boys, as you can see in this video. Again, the amount of footage we uncovered meant this could be mapped in unprecedented accuracy. Spin the camera around and you can see this is where the boys gave recitals. But we also needed to prove something else. We've gone right inside and looked at all this, but from the exterior there are also clear signs of the school as well.
So things such as markings, you can see outlines of football pitches here, other kind of floor markings which indicate potential play areas. From one of the photos you can see markings on the floor which are painted, which could be assembly lines. But as you say, another one is these kind of these small dots which we see, and this kind of trail that comes from them. So we can assume that these are shadows from humans. And because we've mapped the sun to the time and date that the satellite image is taken, we can place objects within this environment, which would be in this model here. So we can place small objects at a size or a scale which matches the shadows. So as you can see here, we've placed one at where the feet would be marked, and you can see the length of the shadow here, which indicates the scale or the height of the person involved. And for example, one of these here shows that the Z height, which is the height of the object we've introduced, is around 1 meter.
The height of a child.
The height of a child.
Then we could combine that with video filmed of the aftermath, like this drone footage we obtained. By mapping it out frame by frame, Forensic Architecture was able to create a photorealistic 3D model of the wreckage and match it to the school as it existed before. What all of this is a picture of the school before, but it also helps us understand what happened to the school, especially in terms of the impact and the crater that was left by it. So as a result of this and as a result of other footage that we've obtained, we're able to map where that crater hit and maybe understand why it was so deadly.
This is our photogrammetry model, which we were able to place within the school building here. And as you can see from this yellow circle, which is the crater, which we can show again in a bit more detail, that kind of falls right in this central space of the assembly hall outside this classroom here. And if we map that onto the first floor also, that would also be, essentially that would be in the assembly area of the girls' floor as well. So it's really central within this building.
And of course what we've heard from targeting experts is that, I mean, if you are striking a building, that is where you strike. That's a sign of a precision strike, not a misfire.
We were looking at the school in a lot of detail, but the compound is really important here, both in and of itself, what it was used for, but also the strike analysis. How did you go about building it?
I think a lot of the work I was doing was basically just trying to find out what all of these structures were used for. Obviously, Admiral Cooper made that claim that this was an active cruise missile base, and so I endeavoured to find out what all of these buildings were. And it was that information that I was then able to share with Elliot and the forensic architecture team to then start to build this. So we could actually probably just take a tour of the compound. So here we have a football pitch.
Yeah.
And we were able to locate this based on a picture and actually some videos that we found on the archive pages of the school's website.
Okay.
And obviously, as Elliot's modelled it here, you can see those tall towers in the back. You've got the trees, and basically just everything aligns. Next to it, I'd say, is probably the biggest standout structure, and that is the clinic and pharmacy, which again, you find a lot of information about online. We know when it was opened. There are videos inside it.
Yeah, because that's the sort of important thing here, isn't it, as well, is that this compound was the target.
Yeah.
The school was obviously hit, perhaps mistakenly, but you were able to build a picture, especially by looking at the strikes and the cloud analysis as well of the sort of smoke that went up, and actually map those strikes.
Using these videos, we were able to confirm which strikes were the ones that hit each individual building. And we were actually able to add these into the model. So if I just start by adding in all of the strikes that we were able to see in videos. We have all of these strikes here. So this one here, we can see is directly over the hospital. This is one that hit the school, and several others hit buildings over here, which were also used by the school.
It's interesting because when you see the raw video footage, you obviously just see missiles going down, smoke coming up. What you get from here is the targeting of this. It's not just hitting random places, it's hitting buildings, the clinic, it's hitting the school over there.
Yeah. Two of the buildings on the other side of the compound, which we know were part of a cultural complex that was used by the children. We can see this here, actually. This is one of the videos.
Trips and
exactly.
like
we see them going on lots of trips, and actually some of the videos that we see, we were able to geolocate to the compound near the school. And these buildings were used by the children. So one of them appears to be like just a big hall that they use for events.
This has been, one of the most painstaking investigations the data and forensics team has worked on. Seeing the level of detail, the level of work, and also sort of the toll of going through, 120 children who were killed, 120 pupils as young as 6. At the end of all of this, the end of this investigation, what do you hope the impact will be?
Well, we've been working on this for 4 months, and that means we've gone 4 months without the US giving an explanation for what actually happened here. And that means families and the loved ones of victims have gone 4 months without an explanation of what happened. And so I think one of the first things we're hoping for is that our investigation encourages that. And that's something that I'm sure we'd all like to see.
It's also just these families. I mean, a lot of them have lost not just one child, but maybe 2 children, maybe 2 children and a parent. Like they've just been, a lot of them just completely torn apart. I mean, they're still grieving their children.
No investigation will bring them back, but an explanation, even just acknowledgement, would help. We've mapped out what happened as best we can. Those responsible have not yet done the same.